Hello, Khabarovsk. Alexei Navalny, Russia's opposition leader and would-be presidential candidate, booms his greeting from a makeshift podium on the outskirts of this far eastern city, a statue of a victorious revolutionary-era Soviet partisan looming behind him. The young crowd of several thousand, dotted with red balloons and banners reading Navalny 20!8, goes wild. After 8 rallies across the country, the candidate's voice is hoarse, but he is fired up. The rally, Khabarovsk's largest in years, could be part of an American presidential campaign. Tall and charismatic, Mr. Navalny looks the part. Russia's electoral politics have long been neutered by President Vladimir Putin, who decides who can or cannot run. The population assumes the role of a television audience with little say over the show's content. Mr. Navalny's campaign threatens to change that. There are 5 months to go before Russia's presidential election, and Mr. Putin, in power since 2000, will almost certainly be re-elected. Mr. Navalny is campaigning, but the Kremlin says he is ineligible because of a conviction on trumped-up embezzlement charges in 2013, for which he received a suspended sentence. Neither such injustice nor the state media's ignoring of his campaign has deterred Mr. Navalny, who disregards the regime's rules. Politics, he insists, is no longer what the Kremlin decides, but what is happening in the streets. To remind Mr. Navalny of the rules, on October 2, less than a week after his tour of Russia's Far East, he and his campaign chief were jailed for 20 days. The aim was to prevent him from staging an unauthorized rally he had called for October 7, Mr. Putin's birthday, in St. Petersburg, the president's home city. Instead, on that day thousands of protesters turned out in St. Petersburg, Moscow and elsewhere, chanting "Russia without Putin." Young faces painted with Russian flags or large N logos dominated the throng. "Let's be honest, he's the only alternative there is," said Daniil Kolodny, a 20-year-old supporter. Mr. Navalny projects optimism. His demands seem simple: allowing himself and other candidates to compete in the election, and ending the harassment of activists and election observers. Yet such competition would threaten Mr. Putin, whose 83% approval rating rests on the idea, reinforced by state propaganda, that there is no alternative to his rule. The danger of registering Mr. Navalny is not that he will win, but that he will dispel this myth. Just by appearing on television, Mr. Navalny would gravely damage Mr. Putin's system.